Good morning, everyone. We will get started momentarily. If you could just please continue to put your name and affiliation in the chat, please. Okay, Matt, I'm all set to get started when you are.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, and hope you are doing well. For today, we are in tune for a great presentation from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. But before we begin, I will pass it to Matt Bogosian for some updates, and then we will get started. Matt, the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Michelle Burris from the Century Foundation, one of our many BFFs and ecosystem partners. Happy August 12th. As Michelle said, this is our weekly 30-minute national call. Happens at the same time every non-holiday Monday as we work to strengthen the American project with the manufacturing cornerstone. It's a great journey. We've been working on this for about 10 years, leading the way on bringing science and best practices to bottom-up economic development, with the manufacturing being the cornerstone of that work. Trying to bounce back after deterioration in the end of the 20th century. And we're doing that, and we frame the universe around 6 key manufacturing industries, which are broad and overlapping: defense, energy, transportation, agriculture, IT, and health. So everyone affiliated with AMCC is working in any one or more of those subsectors within manufacturing in general. And also, of course, it's got to be regional and bottom up. And so we focus on the big 6 elements that are critical for every region and their ecosystem of support for those manufacturers to thrive. And we keep framing and reframing so people can see themselves in the big picture. And those big 6 areas are workforce, supply chain, research, innovation, entrepreneurship, infrastructure, site development, trade, international investment, operational improvement, and capital access. All of this is on our website at the Big 6 in the resources section of our website. So if you want to check that out, and so you're on this call, you're working in one of those areas undoubtedly, and it takes a village. And of course, what our North Star is sustainable development, trying to make folks' lives better right now in our regions, but also for future generations. So the sustainable development, which of course is economic prosperity with equity, environmental sustainability, and national security. So thank you for being on this call. And this call is one of the 2 weekly activities that we do to kind of ground truth what we're doing and learn best practices, share best practices. We also have the AMCC update newsletter that goes out at the end of the week. So thanks for being on and participating, getting that AMCC update newsletter and sharing it with your networks. We, of course, are the nation's manufacturing community of practice. We're free, open source, and designated by the Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration. But we're agnostic to agencies. That is, we are trying to help any kind of manufacturing-related initiative across the country add value to the best practices of what bottom-up leadership means in regions for that manufacturing cornerstone. So we do those 2 weekly activities. We also do podcasts. We're co-creating with a lot of partners this manufacturing community ecosystem metrics tool and playbook. And so if you have any kind of equity in terms of those kinds of activities, please hit us up, because we need a lot more work. We don't have the capacity to build that tool playbook. We're going to have a draft pretty soon. We got a lot of cool activities there, but this is a big open source project, so inviting, as we always do, participation in that. And then we also do in-person stuff. So we go out and this is kind of a segue to our presentation today. We do these AMCC roadshows where we meet with you guys in regions around the country with other intervention stakeholders like from the federal agencies, but other nonprofits and whatnot, trying to co-create smarter, more sustainable practices for those regions. So we have Mark from Michigan on here in a little bit to talk about how the state government there in Michigan is working in the defense and aerospace industry. So looking forward to that, Mark, here in a little bit. But as we do, oh, I should say also on our, we're also doing manufacturing momentum summits, national summits in DC. We had one last year, and we're co-creating one for this year. It looks like it's going to be in December. Not ready to announce it yet, but probably in this week's AMCC update. So super psyched about that in-person convening. So let's see. Oh, as we do at the beginning of these calls, we want to stop and see if there's somebody new or somebody who who hasn't introduced themselves in the past or wants to reintroduce themselves because it's been a while since they've let folks know who they are. If you want to raise your hand and just say hello and where you're from, this is an opportunity to do that. That's a new practice that we're doing because we got some feedback over many months that would be a good thing to do. So I like it, and we get to meet new people or re-meet people that haven't spoken up in a while. So let me stop there and see if there's anybody that wants to say hello and good morning.
Hey, Matt, I'll jump in. Daniel Weirman with the CNC Career Network. I jumped in on this call and I'm still with Goodwill Southern California, but also created now the CNC Career Network to come and share and be with you guys and try to help any way I can.
Great, Daniel. Thanks for being on and welcome. We had a great AMCC roadshow series of meetings throughout California, and Daniel was at one of those in Los Angeles. Lots of manufacturing in California and co-creating smarter practices there, super important. So thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Kara Pattison. I'm the program manager for the SME Manufacturing Imperative Workforce Pipeline Challenge. And I was at the last meeting, but I was having technical difficulties, so I didn't get the chance to introduce myself. So thank you for your great meetings, and I appreciate the invite.
Great, Kara. Welcome. And thanks for putting your name and info in chat. And you can also use the chat as we do to share information about webinars and meetings. Go for it, right? This is a really informal weekly meeting of practitioners rolling up their sleeves to try to advance best practices. And so please invite you to use the chat and connect with people offline. We have some great stories just about people that have met on Mondays and have led to all kinds of cool collaboratives from region to region. One of the things we've learned over the years, Kara, is this whole, this is my region. I'm going to make my region succeed at the cost of some other region in the United States, and that race to the bottom MO is just not sustainable, right? We're in this international competition with dictators and thieves. We've got to rebuild American manufacturing and do it together. And sure, there are some inherently, competitive things out there, but overall, our teamwork is really essential. And so, thanks for being on and participating, sharing our info, with your stakeholders. So, going on from that, as we do every week, we also highlight a few things from our AMCC update that are key. I just hit a couple real quick. EDA Good Jobs Challenge, round 2 came out. That's $25 million funding opportunity. This is all in our AMCC update. And David Van Sicklen, our operations director, is on the move right now. He's on the call, but I don't know if he can drop that link there. but it's all in the AMCC update, or somebody else could drop it in there. But that's a super important one, as is DOE's $63 million funding across 2 projects from their Office of Manufacturing and Supply Chain. I see, Alex, you're on the call. Just wanted to highlight that opportunity because, of course, that's super important as we make this energy transition. It's got to be, with manufacturing. So I wanted to highlight that. I don't know, Alex, if you wanted to say hey on that and emphasize the importance of that, this would be a good chance to do that.
Yeah, hey Matt. Actually, so this is Brian from the same office. I'm gonna take this one. Do you think I have 2 minutes here to just share a slide and just go over the 2 different segments? That'd be fantastic. Hi, good
please.
morning. Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. This is Brian Ratcliffe. I'm from the DOE's Office of Energy Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains. I'm just gonna share a super quick I'm so used to Teams. I hope I'm sharing the right slide.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, phenomenal. All right, so yeah, for those of you unaware of our program, essentially the Office of Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains is a new office at the Department of Energy. We stood up a little over 2 years ago after the passage of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and our job is really just to secure America's supply chains as we move through this energy transition. There's a lot of moving pieces here, lots of complexity, lots of potential vulnerabilities. And so we have a wide suite of funding from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, as well as the Inflation Reduction Act, as well as the Defense Production Act. And we're just trying to do our part to support manufacturers, support states, and really grow and protect our domestic supply chains. So to that end, we have this new funding opportunity. I was on the chat last week and dropped a bunch of links in the chat. So if some of this is looking familiar, that might be why. $63 million total. The title of this funding opportunity is the Smart Manufacturing and Recycling Tactics for States opportunity. This has 2 pretty distinct areas of interest. So I'm going to walk through them both very quickly here. The first area of interest, the first sort of segment of funding that we're looking to give out, is for something called the State Manufacturing Leadership Program. So as the name implies, these are grants to states. The eligible entities here are state entities. And the goal here is to either build from scratch or complement and kind of beef up existing programs that are supporting small and medium manufacturers in the implementation of smart manufacturing practices or high performance computing. So really, we're thinking about everything under that Industry 4.0 umbrella. If your state has an existing program and they want to expand it, this would be a great opportunity for that. If your state doesn't yet have any dedicated program or funding for smart manufacturing, they could use our funding to create one. And in our round 1 funding, we got both types of applications. We have $22 million left in this program. The awards can be up to $2 million each. There is a cost share. So for every dollar we give you, we would need 23.1 cents from the applicant. Okay, so then there's a whole second area of interest here. So a separate funding program within the same opportunity. This is called the State and Local Battery Collection, Recycling, and Reprocessing Program. So this is eligible entities here include state governments, just like with the other one, but also local governments. And again, this is for either the creation of or the enhancing of programs around battery collection or recycling or reprocessing. This is really, we're taking an eye on, the criticality of the battery supply chain and these critical minerals, the lowest hanging fruit, right? To make sure that we retain a competitive advantage in this space is to make sure that the minerals that are already in circulation don't just get landfilled, but instead can get put back into productive use at the end of their life. So $41 million available for this program, up to $10 million per grant. Although I will say that in our first round of funding, the typical grant size was more like $1 or $2 million. So we see quite a diversity here. There's a 50% cost share there. And there's something of an urgency here. This funding opportunity is not open for that long. It will close on Monday, September 16th at 5 p.m. So I'll share these slides around with Matt afterward. He can push them to you all. That QR code will take you right to the application page, as will the apply here button there. Happy to take questions now if there's time, Matt. Obviously, if not, happy to cede it to the next speaker. If there are questions that folks have, this kind of goofy looking email there at the bottom is the right place to send them. as feds, we're sort of famously tight-lipped about what we can say to individuals once a funding opportunity is open. And so if you send questions to that email, we will write responses that get published, and so everyone can see them, so that everyone's on a fair playing field there. But anyway, hope to see some great applications from both states and localities this time around. I think both of these programs are really excellent, and really appreciate the opportunity this morning to share a bit about them.
Great, Brian. Thank you so much. And thanks to you, Alex, and the whole DOE MESC office for their partnership in AMCC. We have a lot of good hard work going on and a lot more to do. And it's not just one agency. It's just not the federal government. We need to get states more active and in cities and counties, and of course nonprofits and our key manufacturers, dialing them in. Estimated about 250,000 manufacturers across the United States, and we have a lot of upgrades to do in a very short period of time. So exciting that we have these federal interventions from multiple agencies, including DOE. So thanks always for your partnership and helping us educate ourselves and everyone else in our regions about these opportunities and best practices. So, which is a nice segue right back to the state element. And we have Mark Ignish on here from Michigan. Now, we met Mark from the state of Michigan, thanks to the leadership of Ashley Breitner and Stephanie Ludwig at the Economic Growth Institute there in Ann Arbor, and part of our AMCC Roadshow in Michigan, where we're trying to work with stakeholders around the framework that I started off this call with, and we do almost every call and all of our materials or whatever. So Mark, delighted to have you to showcase for folks around the country and BFF organizations and federal agencies and nonprofits, what's happening in the state government level in terms of trying to strengthen this bottom-up manufacturing. And you guys are focused on aerospace and defense, right, in your office?
That's correct. Yep, that is correct.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
Yeah.
the time to join this morning.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you've got some slides and yeah, go for it.
All right, I'll bring those up and share those.
What's cool, one of the good things that we learned about, at our Michigan Roadshow is how Michigan's working very hard to take advantage of the best research coming out of their universities, University of Michigan, in terms of enabling entrepreneurship and new innovation in defense and aerospace. But don't want to steal your thunder there, Mark.
Yeah, no worries. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Well, again, thank you for a few minutes here to present with this group. I know when we met alongside UMEGI and others, I was quite intrigued by what AMCC is and does, and appreciate the opportunity to dive in a bit more here and connect on Mondays. So my name is Mark Ignash. I'm the Strategic Initiatives and Ecosystem Development Director for our Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation. And we are housed within a team of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So as I think the title of the office suggests, we are the unit within the MEDC focused specifically on defense and aerospace. And we have kind of grown out of the predecessor office, the Michigan Defense Center, which I was also with for several years in one capacity or another, supporting economic development in the state for defense and aerospace. So this office is launched as of about 90 days ago, and we are carrying forward really the banner towards economic development specific to these industries. So business retention, growth, expansion, attraction, and obviously that job base growth as well. And one way we do that, a primary way we do that, is working with our supply base and our manufacturers across the state. So I will just go through some of these slides at a high level. Again, some of these were designed kind of as a presentation, for companies or customers, but just to give you a flavor of what we are and what we're doing, I'll run through them really quickly here just to give you a snapshot. So, through our office, kind of the high level numbers here, right? So we've got over 4,000 companies that are engaged in the defense supply chain here. We also have nearly 1,000 within aerospace supply chain. So significant and representing nearly 166,000 jobs. So it's a significant industry that I think often, when you think of Michigan, you think of Detroit, you think commercial automotive. You don't always think defense or aerospace. And certainly there is dual use application of what goes on with commercial automotive to, defense land systems. But we're looking at, across the board, different ways that we can impact this sector within the state to include land systems and beyond. So our primary role here is really, looking to set the table to increase our DoD and R&D activities in the state at the high level, increasing awareness of our capabilities and our key assets. Obviously, we want to work very closely with our Apex accelerators on procurement and capture of contract dollars for our businesses that are both traditional and non-traditional defense companies. And then also look at how we further expand our portfolio within aerospace. And that includes traditional aviation, right? So platforms that are crewed to some degree, advanced aerial, which is uncrewed, and as well as space, and how we capture more of that market as well. So we look at it kind of threefold in aerospace. So again, high level stats here, kind of covered a couple of them already. We really do look at the commercial automotive as I say it's a mirror. So when you see commercial automotive, there really is a mirror on the other side of the R&D that takes place in land systems. So when we are home to for Army, we are home to DoD land systems. So we do see that duality play out with a lot of dual use technology that flows both ways, right? So that's something that we really do leverage, but we're also leveraging other strengths as well, such as our advanced manufacturing and lightweighting materials, and the different technologies that we're seeing emerge across the state, and how we can work those into our defense supply chain, whether that's enabling technologies such as materials, cyber, and others. So I'll roll through those quickly. I forgot an animation, so I'll get through them as expeditiously as I can. So something we try to note is that as you look across, the plethora of things that DoD buys, Army buys, you will find a Michigan supplier somewhere in there, in some case, many times. So why is that? And so our defense sector, and this is speaking to the prior slide, it's really it's a portfolio of enabling either technologies or adjacent industries. So when you look at it, it's obviously automotive mobility is going to be key. Advanced manufacturing, engineering, design, and development that happens, cybersecurity, aerospace, maritime, and leveraging our lakes and the different ways our supply chain can impact Navy and some of those needs. Testing and evaluation, and then on the semiconductors front. So we are a member of the Silicon Crossroads Microelectronic Commons Hub, and that's a semiconductor play with the first tranche of chips. So when we try to define the defense sector, sometimes it's difficult to put it in one spot because it can be all of these and more. These are just kind of some of the key ones, but there's more. And so, yeah, I got a colleague here, and she's liking the and more. Ultimately, that's kind of the piece when folks are going, well, what are you doing in defense? And they assume it's probably just kind of tanks and things like that, which yes, but then there's all these other technologies as well that kind of embed within the sector here that we're trying to foster growth of. So again, more of these little stats that the folks arm me with. So for us, it's about 30 billion in economic activity. We look at about 7.6 billion in spend here, at least for the prior fiscal when we full reporting. The grants component, 722 million. I think we're second only to California in that front. So we're tracking that. And we really leverage, again, assets is a key word I use often. That's kind of where I kind of sit is as an ecosystem. How do we look at these key unique assets? And every state does this, as they should. It's what's the differentiator? What do we go after? What don't we? And there's, it's just as valuable knowing what to do as well as what not to do. So what are the assets? And obviously noted we have commercial automotive. We've got our defense corridor, Macomb County, where we see, just up and down the road supply chain companies from, a few person shop up to General Dynamics and BAE and, all of the well-knowns. And we also have key National Guard assets as well. And in the north, we have the National Alderman Warfighting Center, which contains over 140,000 acres of training space and airspace that we're able to unlock for industry to use for commercial activity. So again, for me, it's what are these assets that really make the case for what we're doing here versus us just saying we're good at everything, because you can't be great at everything. You gotta really pick what you're gonna be great at. So with this new office, we've been trying to look at that as well as how do we further leverage some of these unique assets. Really quick overview of the map, as we call it. This map does change, and it's certainly not fully representative of everything in the state. But this is an 83 county proposition. We have 83 counties in the state, and every county does have a defense supplier in it and or aerospace. And I think sometimes folks are taken aback by that, because even in the furthest regions of the Upper Peninsula, which from where I sit in Southeast Michigan is the same drive as it would be to Washington, D.C. So Detroit to D.C. or Detroit to Calumet, 9 hours or so, 8 hours. And we have suppliers there too. So for us, the mission is not really inventing the wheel here. It's just helping tell that story and helping our suppliers, get to the table. And if we can lower those barriers to entry to do that, whether that's federally at the prime level or at the sub level, with the primes, that's what we're really here to do. And we do that, grassroots level all the way up through our executive office, legislature, and so forth and so on, federal level and state level. So again, this is really some of what we share with folks when they're saying, okay, well then how do we engage, right? So we have a lot of programming events. We have a webinar series that just launched. We connect deeply with our associations here in the state. Obviously, our supply chain engagement, we can bring folks into that, and obviously we can bring suppliers to companies even if not in Michigan, because ultimately, if a prime works with our folks here in the state and that supply chain, is establishing sales, we're happy there. So it's not always a case of trying to bring companies to Michigan. It's not always going to be the case, but sometimes it's getting our supply chain engaged with those companies. Connecting the Detroit Arsenal, land systems there. I mentioned our National Guard assets. And then we're in proximity, because ultimately, and sometimes it's, I kind of get the look when I say this, but it's a Midwest region, right? There's really a lot of strength across the borders here. We have in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, these areas, really a powerhouse. So as the Midwest, yes, as much as I am an advocate of the state, I think there's also a Midwest play here that we're stronger together. And in some cases, we can do quite a bit in partnership with other states. So
that's awesome,
that being
Mark.
said, that's what I got for you. So I did it with a minute to spare.
Yeah, very impressive. And no apologies. We had a lot to get to. And can you put your name and email
Yes.
in the chat? That would be really helpful, so people can just grab that.
Do that. Yes, sir.
And we keep these calls, to 30 minutes, because the folks on here are practitioners. Now we record them and we put them up on our website, so you can always grab them later, everyone. But this is an example. Super psyched about this, Mark, and glad to have you on. I mean, we have this, partnership with the National Governors Association. We co-created a webinar talking about best practices that states can do. I'm
Sure.
always talking about cool new things, and Carmen Molina Rios from the state of Connecticut is on. They've taken kind of a leadership role in manufacturing by creating a state, chief manufacturing officer. So somebody's job it is, right, to really do this. So I'm really curious to learn more about the development of your state office focused on that, because I think I see Larry Peterson from Texas. We're going to be hopefully going down to Texas to do a road show. I'm just really interested about how state governments can take a leading role. I know California is making moves in this area, and many other states have too. So that's a follow-up, I think, Mark, for us.
Absolutely.
So we can appreciate that. Thanks in advance for that. So yeah, this is all great. We'll be sharing this online and in our AMCC update. And Michelle, let me turn it back to you so we can close it out. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Matt, and thanks so much, Mark. With that, everyone, thanks so much for joining today. We'll be meeting here at the same time on next Monday, and wish all of you a wonderful week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.